fun intro. I actually like that intro. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Spill the ImmuniTEA. We're right on time this morning on a Friday morning. Excited to recap season 48, episode 6. Brandon, so glad you're here this morning. What did you think? We just had like 2 minutes beforehand, like not even talk about this yet.
Yeah, what you hear is completely fresh, unrehearsed,
That's right.
uncut. It's who we are.
Unplanned, unorganized, undone.
Sounds like a lot of different survivors at their gameplay.
Yeah.
Oh man. So I've been kind of listening to a lot of different podcasts over the last 24 hours. Tyson's, Rob's, just to kind of figure out what are people talking about this episode, because it was kind of like almost a break in the season as far as the craziness goes, but we still had some crazy a little bit. Bree, where would you like to start?
I don't even know. Like the thing that of all the things, and it's like way at the end, is I just want to keep an eye on Mitch. I'm worried about him. Worried about him. That was like the top thing that I got from this whole episode is he's rattled and shaken up. And so we gotta, maybe we go back to, we had the merge.
Yeah.
And, how do you feel? Let's just start with a question on what we would do. Do you feel like you stay with that like Vula Strong, or you know what I mean, or the Siva? Like, how do you would you go into it like I'm going to stay with my original 6, or do you try to maneuver into the best alliance for yourself?
And here's the part, right? I know I'm answering the question with another probably question by the end of this, but they're untested. Like, it's not even, when they had, Alex's favorite thing is the 2 tribes. I think you're a 2 tribe person as well, right?
Yep.
To where if you start off with your 8, you're never starting off with your 8. You're almost never starting off with your 6, because there really hasn't been in the history of Survivor a solid tribe of 6. So to say, hey, we're going to stay with our 6, there's always one, even if you've never been to council, that you're like, hey, if we ever have to go, it's going to be Star, or it's going to be Charity, or it's going to be whomever. So to believe that you are always going to be the 6 is very unheard of. So I don't know, Brie. It would really depend on who is on that tribe. Do you have like an exact answer of I'm going to either stick with my 6, or I'm going to, or do you think that there's a spectrum of answers depending on the people?
Well, I think there's a little bit of a spectrum. So so because of this episode, we saw how alliances formed cross tribe, right? Right. We saw that. And then we did see the Siva 6 or whatever that was like, we got to stick together, which didn't really work out that well. And so I think in a merge situation with that many people, if you say you want to stay 6 strong in this, I think it gives you a very powerful, it does give you that powerful, you really only have to bring one person in. It does give you that voting if there is an easy target. That's like when we merge, that person has to go. Right. And so you can keep that for 1 or 2 votes. But then in that, and it has to also make sense for your game, personal game at the same time. But I think it does work in that very first or second, because you don't know these people that well, but you've seen them, right? You know, you're going into individual immunities. You know that you're going to have to battle against these people. And there's got to be that person that you're like, they're going to win it all. They're never, let's just get them out right away. That easy vote. So you keep that strong, maybe 1 or 2 votes. But in that time frame, you're also maneuvering and creating a new alliance, saying, okay, I'm going to shift. Now, we saw things go, sideways on a lot of people in this episode. But I think that the one alliance that I like forming, though even seems like at the end by the previews of next week that it's not gonna last, sadly,
Mm-hmm.
um, is that Ava, Joe, Shaheen, Kyle, um,
Camilla.
Camilla. I saw people calling
Killa Camilla. I like it.
liked it. It was in the Travis Spoken group. Someone was calling her Killa Camilla, and I love that. And so, but that looks like that might not even last because it's a large group. You really have to have, I would say, a core 4. That
Mhm.
has to be the basis of that. But yeah, I mean, I liked that they cross-pollinated, I
Yeah.
guess, a good word for it,
Yeah.
where, they kind of pulled a little here, a little there, "Let's come together, we can run this show." I
Yeah.
didn't hear the 4 that were so solid on the beach when they were after last week's episode when they shared so much about each other, that doesn't seem to be as strong of a bond as it was made to seem last week to this week. Now it's like it's kind of like been thrown away. What did you think about all that?
Yeah, especially since, in the next episode, they already have Killa Camilla saying, we're going to make Shaheen look like he's going to do something sneaky or something like that. And maybe Shaheen starts to do that because we know out of the California girls, Thomas was definitely the most, I think, sneaky of the 3. But then Shaheen was right behind him based on what we saw from casting videos and different things like that, to where Joe's your solid player. I think that anybody with Joe's not going to turn on anybody. He's going to try to keep his word. He's already talked about this honor integrity game. And I think much against Coach, Joe actually, I think, would be committed to something like that. Like he's like a Roger Bingham from season 2, where it's like, I'm staying with my people. He's playing extremely old school Survivor. And I think that Camilla, out of all the people that should break from this power 6 or power 8 that they've created and cross-pollinated to make, Camilla and Kyle are the ones that should break off of this because they are the minority in this huge person group. You got Joe and Ava who won't split. Star is a part of the Ava now saying, I'm going to commit to this. I think David is pretty genuine. He says, I'm committed to my Milk Alliance. And then you have Shaheen, who needs somebody, and I think that he was willing to stick to that California Girls Alliance as well. So I don't know if I answered your question at all with that, but I do see that out of all these people, Kyle and Camilla need to stay a little bit more liquid and not solidified into this 6 more than any of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And it does make sense because I don't think Camilla, and I really am liking her a lot more and more by every episode. And I like the name Killa Camilla, but I do think she is so incredibly strategic and like really focusing on like not, she's the 5 steps away kind of person, right? That was like Wayne Gretzky could see 5 plays ahead, which is why he was so successful. I think Camilla has that ability to see 5 moves ahead. And she's thought, she is the kind of person that will sit there and she'll go, okay, if that person goes, then these people are going to go over here. And then I got to get rid of that person after that. And that'll cause this to happen. But she does that with the whole tribe, right? So she runs the scenarios through her head almost instantaneously, it seems like, as she's making these decisions. And so she can see so far ahead. For me, she's the most dangerous player in the game right now,
Oh,
way over Shaheen. But I do think Shaheen is dangerous.
absolutely, absolutely. And then, I mean, Bree, there's things that we haven't seen again in a while on Survivor, and one is the fact that I think it was during like the Jeremy seasons and the Tony seasons where there's this thing called the meat shield, right? Where let's keep, if there's a strong guy, let's keep the other strong guy too to go along with us. And they're kind of turning this on their head a little bit when it comes to saying, hey, like, let's not be meat shields anymore. Let's join together and just state the obvious. We're the stronger guys here, and push through. Now, for the first time in a while, they've casted enough strong guys to make a strong guy alliance. That hasn't been seen in at least the new era. You know, you always have like the John, who's the only one who's should be a strong part of the alliance. You had Danny, who was a strong player, but there was kind of strong guys, but not like these. Let's have a milk alliance, and it makes sense for us to have a milk alliance because, you know, our biceps are milk cartons themselves. So it's very interesting, this whole let's take away this meat shield mentality and let's actually be a strong alliance, which is all part of this whole scheme as well. And I think that Camilla sees this. I think that she sees, hey, like Kyle and I, yeah, we're in a good majority right now, but this ain't gonna last. These guys are almost playing too loyal. I think Kyle even, you know, has kind of hinted around to people saying, yeah, I'm loyalty alliance, sure. And he's going to be the unloyal one in the loyalty. And someone needs to be first for the season to be great. But second, because that 6 is going to have to break up soon. Do you think it's too early for Camilla to start kind of sussing people out?
I do think it's slightly early, but like I said, I do think she's got this master plan in her mind of how she wants to control the season. And I do think if she is successful, we will see her manipulate her way through this entire season and get, you know, it's going to take a betrayal from Kyle or him getting voted out for Camilla to go home, because we have seen the acting ability and the way they can maneuver together without even discussing things.
Right.
That is masterful. That to me is at a different level than everyone else that's playing the game. Say certainly doesn't have that. You know, like Brennan had said, Say has been the easy person to go all season, but she's still here.
Yeah.
You know, she's not at the level yet, but she is starting to kind of remind me of Abby Marie.
Abby Marie, I was going to say those words.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely true. Absolutely true.
She just makes it difficult to work with her.
Yeah, and they both have a different persona that does set them apart from each other, but enough to be like, okay, like you've crossed this. There's a place every season Survivor where you have to cross 2 lines. And that first one is, okay, like no one's going to take you to the end, everybody wants to take you to the end. So we'll hang on to you because you're an extra vote for somebody, unless she just votes for Cedric. And like,
yeah,
what good is that? I almost wonder now if that was a horrible move for her, in the fact that she can't even be seen as a number to anybody right now because she's just going to kind of vote for whoever's ticking her off that morning. So I don't know if that's a strategy. But then you have the second part of the game where it's just like you kind of check in with yourself and be like, okay, like, can I take this person to the end? At first I thought they weren't going to get any votes, but maybe they have played enough of a game to get votes. You see that with Abby Maria. First is, okay, well, we're going to strand her along, and then people will start wondering, well, maybe we should like eliminate her before she has too different of a game than everybody, to where, you know, if you have too synonymous of a game, you really hurt your chances. But if you have a completely different game than somebody else, it kind of hurts your chances because then that person has a different kind of gameplay than you do, and you have to try to figure that out. So for Say, do you think she's at the point where people are starting to think, okay, we need to take her to the end because she's not winning?
I think that the reason that they will get rid of Say is the same reason they will get rid of Abby. They got rid of Abby Maria, is that she just makes camp life that much harder. And the reason that like Abby was like really cemented that for me was coming back from the merge feast, because Abby Marie did the same exact thing when she came back from a reward challenge and had eaten, and she went, and then she just couldn't stop talking about it. And she was like, "But I'm just telling the truth," which she was just telling the truth of what they had in it. But
And
oh
the
my God, girl,
snozberries taste like
stop.
snozberries.
Yeah. Right? And so when Say is doing that and you see her, it's just a throwback to that for me. I don't even know what season that was, 26 maybe or something that
Mhm.
she was on. And so I'm just seeing that being played back in my mind again. And like, what are you talking about? Like this, I what am I doing wrong? I'm just saying the truth.
Yeah.
And like we get that, but like no,
Right, yeah.
stop. Like
Right.
it's just rude.
Yeah.
I like what Max said. I think Say would be gone if Charity hadn't fumbled so bad. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think that was what did you think of that whole return the idol thing?
That was one of the first notes I made was first Say make it to the island, getting that a great edit by the way of you thought that Charity had it, and all of a sudden the Say the hurricane comes and swoops it and gets that garlic shaped idol Christmas ornament type thing. I want one for my tree. Then you have Star who has basically gave the idol away a couple episodes ago, and Charity comes in and says, what you should do with that. Star's reading through it. They don't have a huge relationship. Charity's kind of figuring out, who is my number two here. Like I don't have anybody, so she's trying to get Star on her side. Well, Star, unless Charity has been watching, now has friends. Now has amazingly Star stock is going up, baby. And
Should we call her a rising star?
a rising star. How about you?
I know I'm on it today. Coffee, baby. Let's go.
You are fueled. It does a lot better than milk in the morning for sure. Star, I think her giving that to Ava, especially this season where it's loyalty, dedication, devotion, is a fantastic thing to do. And Charity, who's kind of already in a minority when it comes to herself, she's been in no group really, but just the really deceptive type play is not taking place. Who is the evil of the season, right? Who is the bad guy we keep on looking for?
Well, I think, I don't think it's a bad guy, but I think the deceivers, which I think is really funny, is Camilla and Kyle, where Kyle is like, I have this really honest and, truthful game. And then I'm going to play this game the right way. And I'm not going to do all this backstabbing and lying and cheating and blah, blah, blah. And yet he's like a master at it, right? Yes. So he's just like trying to deflect and move people. No, I'm so incredibly honest. It's probably going to be the bad part of my game is because I'm so honest. And then he's like so not honest. So
right. And speaking of those people, speaking of those people, we'll talk about David and what he said at Tribal, and Jeff kind of putting him in his place a little bit later this episode. But going to Brandon's comment real quick, and Max's comment, and I say that because everybody said that she was an easy vote, and then Terry all of a sudden says, "But we should try." Ava has immunity, not even the actual immunity. She has. I just made the biggest Emmy performing, which was natural. Not saying that was a performance, but one of the greatest pieces of drama on television history with her and Joe, and that emotion that was created by this experience automatically gave Ava at least 2 tribals worth of immunity. She wasn't going home. We knew she wasn't going home. No one would have voted for her to go home. And Charity, I think, just failed to understand just how huge of a situation it was that Ava just went through. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, and in her exit interviews too, she's talking about they were just all too scared and didn't want to, look bad by voting Ava out the first, you know what I mean? Right. And probably very true, but I think probably also you screwed up a little bit and, you got yourself into that. I don't think everyone was really looking at you until you started doing things, and you have to be careful, like who do you tell what to, and how have you formed your line? How have you formed bonds already, right? we know that in the beginning, you have to solidify with people.
Right.
You, even if you only have a number, like if you have that number one person, like who is that person for you? At least have that. And that's who you talk about things with.
Yeah.
And then you feel people out on things. You don't walk up to them and they go, hey, Brandon, you know what? I think we should vote Ava off this week.
Right.
Because I don't know what you're thinking or what you're doing or what that fits your plan. I'm going to be, what do you think? Are we looking at, at these people? Are we looking at those people?
Yep.
What do you think is best for our game?
Yep.
And those are the kinds of but you don't just blurt out, hey, let's get Ava out and then get the idol back and blah. I'm like, no, you just not.
Yeah, yeah. And Ava was saying, I think she's fake. I don't think that, or Ava was saying that, yeah, Charity is fake. I don't think that Charity's fake. I just think that there's some rare social miscues that, for whatever reason, Charity just doesn't have the ability to really read a situation. I think I think she had a hard time trying to figure out where people were in the game. And part of that comes from not having a tribal council in 10 days or however long she's been there without a tribal council. She hasn't really necessarily played the game. And sometimes you just get on the island with not the people that you could have played the game with. And so sometimes it's just who you're paired with. And I don't think Charity really had her person. She mentions that her and Mitch were big friends, huge friends on the island. So it's just hard for me to dissect her game and chalk it up for her. What is it about Charity that didn't go well? And I think it was her inability to understand the situations at hand.
Yeah, she didn't have situation awareness at all. Which is obvious because she thought she was besties with David and she doesn't even drink milk. So what was she thinking?
No
Right?
friends.
Like you're out immediately. What's going on?
Right.
So yeah, I'm like, Charity just didn't have the wherewithal to withstand a long appearance. The only reason I think she did stay this long was she was that person where like, oh, we're 6 strong, but if we have to vote, Charity's the one to go. And that's what they've said. So Charity would have been the one to go. Now, I'm a little surprised. I have to say, with stocks dropping this week in the country, I'm going to say the stock in Mitch fell for me this week.
Yeah.
It wasn't a tariff. It was literally just my stock because he was so surprised that Charity was gone. It really crushed him. And how was he not like, he was like, it felt like very out of what was actually happening.
Yep.
And I thought I thought he had better awareness of what was going on. And so I kind of dropped for me.
Yeah, I think that people like him. I think that he's well respected. I think he does great at challenges. He's 0 for 2 in voting. He hasn't voted anybody off the island, unlike
Brennan's right there with you on that.
Cedric the Golden Child, who's voted everybody off this island. He might vote Jeff off the island and come away with it. But I agree. I think that his stock in this game has, and I don't see necessarily a road for him to travel down that he wins this game unless something changes, unless there's a huge change. This is a huge change. And I think this coming week, something we got to watch out for is a double elimination where they basically split the tribe in half and 6 different people go vote for each other. That's a fearful situation for him because I can't figure out who he would join with and be safe with.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I had high hopes for Mitch and I really like him. But he's just not making smart choices right now. And it feels like he might be a little overwhelmed. Like this merge was definitely overwhelming for him. I thought Ava sailed through the merge very well. And even though she doesn't take social cues well, she is smart as a whip and is paying attention and seeing a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
And I'm really liking her game right now, even after that big moment and everything out in the open kind of thing. I think she's maneuvering her way from that point, that moment that we saw this week, into not overplaying it, not really talking about it, like she acknowledges it, but then she's definitely all team, let's support each other, and like that Star coming over and feeling that comfortable to come immediately over to them and say, hey, they're telling me I should get my idol back and I'm not doing that. That's, I think that speaks for how they're making those connections stronger,
Mhm.
and that will come and help them play their game, and that's leaving a lot of other people out, like Mitch, Cedric, Cedric, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
I really worried that he would still be stuck climbing over that ramp.
You're right. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I'm worried about him climbing anything anymore, even up a hill. And yet he's perfect on votes. With more of the Mitch situation, I think that I picked him. He was my third round pick, so there's plenty of people that went by, but I was still confident in him winning this game because I believe his speech impediment has allowed him to learn how to slow down and do things. But I almost wonder if he's moving too slow. The Cedric thing that first time around, not getting the vibe or not getting the hints, that's not necessarily on him necessarily. But the second one, and unless there was some side conversations that we're not seeing that says, hey, we need to go 5-5 or whatever to split this up a little bit. So if somebody has an idol or whatever, or somebody plays their shot in the dark, whatever, which Cherry should have done, obviously. Yeah, I think he might be not quick enough for taking home this year's prize.
yeah,
What were
I
some of the
agree.
comments? I know that people are chiming in. I haven't been
A
reading.
lot of comments going on. So Brennan was saying that Ava was great at tribal, and I agree, she really was. And like telling everyone that she has autism really started her game. I think it really, I think it'll do two things. I think it definitely put a larger target on her back a bit, because, and it also, she was very honest at tribal, saying, I don't pick up on personal cues and I don't know when you're lying to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so, people could use that to their advantage pretty easily to get her set up, at least to not play the idol. But if Joe's in with her still, if they haven't figured out how to get rid of Joe, then I think that Joe is going to pick all those cues up for her and keep her apprised of everything that's happening and work with her together.
And Star now too.
And Star as well. So I know Star is rising. She is really, really, to me, doing a really great job. Here's what I'm looking when I look at this board, and then I want to get to Max's comment. When I look at this board, I have Mary, David, and Star. If you had asked me last week, do I think one of my final three that I have left will win Survivor? I would have said maybe Mary. I think she's smart and quick.
Mm-hmm.
Not thinking that this week.
Mm-hmm.
Not really sure. I'm just thinking at this point right now, the only person that I think on my team that'll make it to final tribal is Star. Because I think she's really likable. She'll be easy to bring along. She'll be loyal, and she'll, now that people are giving her a chance and pulling her in and being like, yeah, your team, you're part of our team, you're in our alliance. I think she's one to take to the end, because I don't know if she's going to make any big moves to put her in contention to win, but she would be great to bring to the end to win. For people that I think could win this entire game, I'm, probably Kyle, maybe, if he can manipulate his way to the end and get rid of his partner in crime, Killa Camilla. He goes up against Camilla. I don't see him winning. He goes up against Ava. I don't see him winning. Maybe up against Joe, because he's my other favorite to win. I don't, with Kyle and Joe, it's going to just be how they play the game. And I think Kyle could edge him out on that, because I think Kyle will be more cutthroat and have more moves, like they say, to like, oh, I did all these things. But yeah, the only thing on my team right now that I see is getting Star to the end, but not winning. She's my Carolyn. She's my, the third place winner on my team, and I don't think David and Mary will survive it. So
Right. Well, there's just so much honesty this season.
mhm.
I've never seen it before that we're already in the merge and more of these players, and not that it's deception versus honesty. I guess it's more or less sneaky cutthroat versus we're just going to play this honest game. And I mean, look at that. You got Joe, David, Ava, Star, so many of them who are playing this honest game. I don't think Christy, from the sounds of it, from what I hear, is that
Is Chrissy playing? Oh yeah, she is playing.
she's playing.
Okay.
Christy's playing this season.
Yeah.
Chrissy. But so my gosh, it's a very interesting season that there are more honest players that have a chance of winning this game than the deceptive ones. And I agree, Camilla, out of everybody that's playing the game, as far as the outwit part goes, she's going to win this. But
they need to get rid of her, to be honest with you, if anyone wants to stand a chance of winning. Do I think Joe could win? Yes, but it depends on who he brings with him. If he brings Ava for loyalty, then I think Ava will probably win it. I think Joe will win American Dad. I think he is like the all-American super dad, like way he like basically I saw an interview with Ava and Joe this week, and they were talking about their family for life. This is their like the connection that they made and how they went through everything, like family for life. And so I think he's, running for the Super Dad of the Year award when it comes. And I think he's fulfilling that. I think he's doing a great job. Like I was like, who do I want to interview? I want to interview Ava's dad and get his reaction to how Joe stepped up for her, because like isn't that like every dad's like dream, is that when my daughter is in crisis that there is somebody that will step up and be there. Like that's what you want, right? And so to me that was so powerful because of that. But does that win the game for him? No, I don't think it does. Does it win the game for Ava? Yes, because of the things she's had to overcome to get to that point. So if Ava makes it to the end, I think she would be a tough contender against Camilla and be the one person, maybe Kyle if he makes it. But I think Ava would, it would be a much different vote if the two of them are in the end together. You'd see a 3, like a 4 or 5 vote, or however many people they have on the jury. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I really think that this season is shaping up to be the fire making challenge is going to be an emotional one for somebody. I think 2 people who are great friends, whether it's the Camilla Kyle, whether it's the Ava Joe, whether it's the Milk Alliance, I guess that's the third, are going to be put up against each other in the fire making challenge, and maybe even that immunity challenge before that someone's going to win this, realizing they're about to having to send somebody home they don't want to send home necessarily. So I think we're in for still an emotional season in this. I don't want to get to Star again. I think Star gets the award this week.
Yeah,
because
star of the show this week. Yeah, I agree with Brennan.
Yeah, the motivational speaking with Cedric, just seeing that he's down, and she earned herself, I think, in another person in this it's not even an alliance, it's just a Star fan club is what it's turned into, right? It's Ava, and it's now Cedric as a part of this. And I think if she can keep up this, like, come on, like keep your head up high, no one's going to vote you out for a while, especially if you haven't made any huge moves against anybody. Man.
Yeah, because we aren't at that stage where they're so likable we have to get rid of them because they're going to get votes. Because I think, first of all, I think that unless she makes some big moves, no one's going to vote for her because she was nice to people. That's not how these players are working these days, right? So I don't think that's going to come into play. But I also think, you want people around camp that are supportive like that. And she isn't doing, I mean, the idol thing was pretty big, like as a big kind of moment thing for her in front of everyone. I'm going to give you the idol, which is like a double-edged sword really for Ava, because everyone knows she has an idol. So was that the best move? I don't know, but I thought it was gracious of Star to do that. But like the Cedric thing, that was private. That was a quiet moment off to the side that I'm sure not a lot of people saw and could, so it's those little solitary moments that we see her just being that supportive person. That I think not everybody's going to be aware of at this. And they're not going to walk around. He's not going to go and go, oh, you should have seen how Star really got me through that tough time. I don't think that's going to be, people are going to be talking about that. So they're not going to see these isolated moments. So I don't think that's going to come against Star. I don't think they're going to see it as much.
Well, I'm thinking too with Star, like who's going to say, yeah, we should get Star out. It's not going to be Cedric. It's not going to be Ava. It's probably not going to be Joe because it's not going to be Ava. It's probably not going to be David because of Joe and because of Ava. So like, I don't know who's going to necessarily start saying, hey, like Star needs to go home now. She's kind of playing like the Elizabeth Filarski card from season 2 of just being kind and motivating and keep it going. Let's do this. And I think Star's in this game for a while.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, the lost player, Chrissy, which I do, she is giving us giving us a few moments here and there. And I don't want to bash her. It's not her fault. I'm sure a lot of it is editing too, right? A lot of it has to be editing, and we're just not seeing her that much. But they've done that to people, and then all of a sudden they have the back end of their game turns into something pretty terrific, and they're getting, now they're getting confessionals. Now they're getting all these different things. I don't look into how many confessionals did they have and how long were each confessional. And like, I can't first of all, math is not my thing. And second of all, I really don't have that much time to do that.
Right. And that's that.
Bless your heart if you do, but
bless your heart. You always say that after you say something terrible about somebody. Bless your heart. So, I mean, it's like that whole iceberg meme you see where you're like, top of the iceberg stuff every survivor should know, which I was really surprised. This is this little trinket I didn't know about, but David did not know Jeff Probst's last name before coming to the island.
Really?
David doesn't know too much about what's going on, which again makes a lot of sense. For as competitive as he is, you can kind of see some naivete about Survivor in his game, and hardcore. Absolutely, I'm seeing it now. David could be a 0 vote finalist, I think.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy. I was not thinking that about him at the beginning of the season. But with that said, I do think that what was the last thing you said, Brie? I'm sorry.
Dude, I don't remember. That was a minute and a half ago.
On my tangents.
That's okay. No, yeah. I would, I'm just saying that, like, Chrissy is
Chrissy.
Unless she changes her game, and then she could get just carried to the end and not. It just depends on how they want this to be. What do they want in the end? I hate to say it, but if I could take a goat or two to the end and guarantee myself $1 million, I would do that. I'm not embarrassed about that. I would totally do that, because at the end of the day, I want to have $1 million. That's why I'm there. That's why I put myself through that. I want the experience and all the other stuff. And you guys are my friends for life. And this has been incredibly bonding, and I've changed and I'm a better person, but I really want $1 million. I really do. Yeah, and if it's going to guarantee me, yes, I'm going to do that.
Yep. Totally agree. I would like to go through here real quick and kind of figure out, so with all this niceness and loyalty, and we know who's going to stick with who for a couple of episodes, I think. Let's go one by one and kind of say, so who are they going to target this next episode? Especially, and maybe we'll go 2 episodes, because we know Say is a really big one that people, just want her gone just to get her off the island. But really after this, no other person's really been named in this group. unless it's been by Say or a Charity or Bianca or Thomas, who are the cutthroat, conniving players gone one at a time.
Thomas would have been my bad guy, and I loved every minute of it. Like, I like him.
I do not like. I mean, and it's very funny that the only person that we wanted to see play this game more than anybody else was Thomas, and he got voted out in a way that he would have voted somebody out and kill a Camilla. So for Kyle, who does Kyle want out right now? Who's on his hit list?
I think he's going to go with Camilla and be like, we got to get Shaheen out because, we are getting down in players, and you got to start getting you got to get anyone that can manipulate the game out, not necessarily win the immunity necklace. Like, I don't think we're looking at the meat shield, whatever. I think you go for who is the strategist. So I think Shaheen is top of his list, but I think in the back, it's Camilla.
Mm-hmm.
He knows he can't win with Camilla. So I think that Shaheen now, he'll work with her as it serves him, and they'll play this, but I do not see him taking her to the end. He will vote her. That will be his last big move.
Right. I agree with that. He better wait on her until like 6. Like,
he
6
needs her right now. Needs her.
Totally needs her. I think they could easily play off the fact that, hey, like, Mitch, come join us. Like, come join us for a vote or two. We'd love to keep you alive. I think Mitch would. Right now, he doesn't have any. Chrissy could do the same thing. I don't think David would do the same thing. So I agree with the Shaheen thing. That kind of, I don't know why I'm stuck on the earlier season so much, but almost like a Marquesas of, John wasn't the strongest. He wasn't, he had plenty of people besides him that were meat shields, but they needed to get John because he was the head of the snake. And I could very easily think that Kyle thinks that Shaheen is ahead of a snake. So I think I can agree with you on the next place they should probably go is a Shaheen very, very soon. How about Shaheen himself? What do you think?
Well, I think Shaheen is still in his, honeymoon phase with this group that he's formed. And that's unfortunate because these players are playing fast and hard, and he should see, how do I scoop up some of these people and get the players out of the game, right? I think David is always going to ride in that honeymoon bubble. We're so great and this is awesome. Why would I get rid of him? I don't understand. And I'm not saying that he's stupid. I like David. I picked him, so I like him. But especially after the comment where he didn't even know Probe's last name, like, it's interesting to me. I don't think he has the wherewithal to understand the intricacies. Kyle does, Shaheen does, Camilla does. I don't even think Joe does. I don't know about Ava. Because she's not going to give you anything either. Just be aware of that. She may not be able to read you or know if you're lying to her, but she's not going to give up information very easily at all.
And that's why Ava stays in this game, right? Because it's not only that she doesn't know if you're lying or not. So let's keep her around, because then when we have to lie to her, we can easily lie to her and get the job done then. But the second part of that is that if you don't know if people are lying to you, you probably don't know how to lie yourself either. And so to have somebody in the game that doesn't know how to lie, I'd keep her in the game, whether it's she makes a mistake and has a terrible lie, or I'm going to have somebody that I completely trust this whole entire game. I'm going to do it. Now, I'll eliminate the players around you completely because I want you to be my number 2. But I think, again, Star and her, they could be top 4 for sure in this game. So that's why I think Shaheen. Who did you say? You said.
I think if Shaheen is really smart right now, I mean, I don't see him getting rid of Kyle and Camilla because I just don't. I don't know. Maybe he's up on that where enough, but I still think their whole game together is undercover to him. So I don't think he's seeing that. I do like what you said about Ava. And I think that if Shaheen was smart, he would get rid of Joe and take on the Ava role, right? Yeah. But I don't see him doing that. But I think that if he was smart, he would push John, or Joe out of the way. Goodbye,
Mhm.
Joe. See
Right,
ya. Ava, what do you need?
right,
Right. And then
right.
slip into that spot.
Yeah,
So
yeah. But then David's going to take that spot. So like, I think Shaheen's a nice number 4 for everybody,
mhm.
which I want to see him start playing this game a little bit. I'm kind of curious as to what Camilla saw that she's like, hey, Shaheen, like I need to flub you up somehow. Let's go, Mitch. Mitch
Oh,
first. He
poor
just
Mitch.
gets
Mitch,
his
Mitch,
feet on
Mitch, Mitch.
get his feet on the
Mitch
ground.
is just pissed. So he's going to, his choice is going to go out of emotion.
Mm-hmm.
He was blindsided by the charity vote. I think he goes for somebody like Kyle or David because he feels betrayed by them because we were supposed to, you know, be strong. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, that's kind of where I see him at. I think
Mm-hmm.
he's going to play on his emotions because he was so, you could see it in his face. You
Yep.
could see, like, that was like the biggest thing that I remember from that episode was he said something and he was just like blown, like it just gobsmacked him. So I think is going to go with an emotional vote this week.
Yeah,
so who is it? David, Kyle, Camilla, maybe? I don't know, but he's feeling betrayed by these people. And so he's going to come after one of them, I think.
It's hard. If I was him, for me, I've been going on this whole Mitch is a great player because he's slow to speak, and that has helped him kind of figure things out a bit more. But that's not working. So does he go the emotional route? That's a great assessment. But if he stays slow, I just don't know where he can go right now. I don't know where he can go.
But he's a number that someone could pull in. And that
He's
might
a
be
trustworthy number too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which Chrissy knows that, which I think Say knows that. I really don't know how his relationship with her. I know that he doesn't like her too much. So until Say goes home, I don't know who he's going to go after. Say, where does she need to go right now?
Okay, so Say is completely misunderstanding this relationship she has with Mary.
Mm-hmm.
It is not what Say thinks it is. I'm so sorry. Mary will cut Say in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
Say is like, Mary, oh, we're going to be these powerhouses together. I think that Say will get rid of anybody she can as long as it's not her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, she
Or
saw
both
her name. Oh yeah. Well, she saw her name quite a bit, so she's going to be worried, and I think she's just going to be like, whoever has the most numbers, I'm going to, if she can stay on that page with them. But I do think it could be her next week if she's not careful. Depends on what rewards come out, what things come out, what she talks about at camp, because we know that is a annoying factor at camp. You spend a lot of time there, well, all of your downtime with all of these people. And when you have somebody that's just like poking you all day long,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Kyle,
Mm-hmm.
Kyle, 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 like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh, I have to get rid of you. You're driving me insane.
Be done. Be done.
Done.
Yeah. She's definitely going to vote Cedric again and again and again. I think she wants to play her own game through all this and not have anybody be her. I just don't see her joining alliance unless she starts the alliance. I don't see anybody joining a Say alliance. So that's going to be interesting. Let's get to this comment real quick. I just love Mitch. I think because of how much of a comp beast he is, even though you don't expect it. Absolutely. I mean, he held Cedric up on that rope ladder beast, but he's left out of important combos.
100%. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so true. And and that's the thing that, like I said, I really like Mitch. He is a comp beast. He is doing all of these things. He brings a lot to the table. Yes, he does take his time replying, which I think is a very good thing. Those people that blurt things out sometimes stick their foot in their mouth quite a bit. So I like everything about him. It's just that he's been devastated by votes that he wasn't a part of.
Mm-hmm.
And why is that happening? I think there's got to be stuff that we aren't seeing, But I think also being overlooked and being all of that can come into play later in the game that really help him.
Yeah, I think that
Because he's not a threat.
he's going to be victim of being with Charity too much. I think I think that's just going to be Charity blood. And I don't think he's ever going to get away from that, because I think it seems like they spend a whole lot of time together, and while he was with Charity, you can't be with anybody else. And so I think that, unfortunately, I don't think that he's ever going to build a game unless he goes on immunity tear, but he's on the wrong season for that kind of thing. Even though he is great at this, there's just a lot of competition on that kind of thing right now, especially when it comes to the athleticism part of the whole entire thing.
Oh yeah, I love this. Like Mitch sitting in the net during the challenge was such a PE coach move. Yeah, it really was. It really, really was. I got to give a shout out really quick to Mary, who came through that net with her face clean. Did you see her? It was like, it was almost like water acrobatics for her. She was just like floating right through.
And she seemed to be at peace with it. Like, it was like,
yeah,
this mud bath was well needed today. I'm done.
I've done this like 50 times already. I know
I thought she'd be the first one to go back and then go back and do it again and just keep on doing like a little session in the mud.
Yeah.
With Mary. Mud with
I
Mary.
had to give her a shout out for that because I was impressed with that.
I agree. Mitch doesn't strike me as a strategically emotional player. I think he bounces back from this easily. Whether it's not an emotional thing, I think throughout his whole entire life he's had to be kind of move away from the emotions of his experience. I think that's what you do when you have this obstacle.
I think he's thick-skinned. I think he's pretty thick-skinned.
Yeah,
I think he was taken aback at Tribal, but I think he's pretty thick-skinned.
I just don't. Yeah, and that's a great comment, because I think that counters the comment about him voting emotionally on this next vote or whatever.
Yeah.
I think my opinion is I just don't know where he goes. I just don't. I think the game might be moving too fast, which, it's say fast. And we'll see what he does with that. I don't know. In the comments, do you guys think what's Mitch's best road? I want to hear from the fans, the season of the fans.
Yeah.
Where can Mitch go? We like him. We like him a lot, but where is he going?
Yeah.
Anybody else you want to mention while we have 6 minutes that you're like, this person needs to target?
I think Camilla is right in targeting Shaheen. I think that's definitely a smart move. It's way too early for her to target Kyle. I don't see anybody else coming close to what Camilla could do. She could sit with any of these people at Final Tribal right now. And she would probably win, because not only is she so strategically ahead of everybody, she's also, I think, very good at like letting people know the things that she's done. And even though Kyle can say they had a similar game, I still think that Camilla is running the show most of all. And I think she's super dangerous. So she could take Shaheen out. I think that's a smart choice on her part. But as far as Ava, I think that she's going to just sit back a little bit, because she's got this alliance that they've been building. I think she's going to listen to them. I don't know that she would be swayed by Camilla. I think that here's the thing they always have to keep in mind. You got to get Joe on your side as well as Ava, right? And so unless you're voting one of them off, you've got to be able to get them both on the same page, because Ava's going to go to Joe and say, so-and-so told me this and I don't understand. Or I don't know if they're telling me the truth. And I think that she has that buffer with Joe that kind of help her navigate. So unless you got to have both. Mary, I think Mary just wants to say off because she's just sick of the girl. I think she's just like, come on, like I made this truce, but it's not a truce, and I just want you gone because you're a thorn in my side. Not necessarily the best play for Mary, but and then I don't think David cares. If you don't drink milk, I think you're gone. And I think Star is, I don't know if she's strategically thinking about any of that stuff.
Yeah. Which is a safe season to not be strategic right now, especially.
What do you think about what's left?
I think my no chance people right now as far as those people that do not have a chance to win this game. And I know it's still early. Still early. This is a far too early assessment. But I don't see an end game for David. I don't see a winning game for. I do see for Star. Actually, it's so weird that I'm saying that right now. Just and that would be a vote for somebody that's like, oh, she came to my aid. She motivated me. She's a little spitfire and stuff like that. So I'll put David on the no chance. I'll put I can still see Cedric, only because he has voted out every single person. I don't know if he's a great winner of all time, but I can see a Cedric story, him coming from the ashes. He needs to come out of the ashes here pretty soon. So I won't put him on no chance yet. I don't see Say winning this. I really don't see Mitch right now. And I just don't see how Shaheen will ever develop a game. I think he hasn't shown me anything yet. So those are my no chance people at this time.
Yeah. I like this comment by Brennan. Cedric may be playing abysmally, but a lot of people have been coming up to him and putting their trust in him. So he may make a deep run. Yeah, I'm agreeing with that. He may be someone that we see going, deep. He's got to get his emotions in check. I know that was a huge challenge, and he really felt like the weight of it on his shoulders, rightly so. I do think that, that was really tough. I do think there's something for him persevering and pushing himself and the team coming together for it as well. Him and Say have the oddest takes, but they are making it. It's blowing my mind. Yeah, I think it is really kind of crazy that they are like, there are people, but we've seen people. They should have been gone, but they're still here. They should have been gone, but they're still here. Mm-hmm. Chrissy's apparently still here. We don't see her much, but she is just that we don't even talk about her. We didn't even bring her.
We don't even talk.
Where are you? She's walking the beach. They're looking
on the
for
beach between the trees.
She's a hidden immunity idol at this point. So she went to the sanctuary where good things happen and never left.
Yeah, and just stayed there. Just stayed there. I think, my gosh, I think that we're still in for a good season. Some people need to pick it up, and we will see what happens. It's now 9:59 here in Indiana, Bree, which means we need to make our picks for next week. One more thing. It's Cedric too. I think he's overly emotional right now. I think he's an emotional person, but I mean, he's been the reason. It's got to be weighing on him that he has sent the most people home. And I don't think that he thought that this early game, he'd be the reason for his emotional vote like Justin. I'm sure he didn't necessarily want Kevin at the time to go home. But he's been the reason why people are going home. So we have Brennan, who is still on his Say train.
Yep.
Say going home. Bree, who's going home next week. And I want you to throw in a second person just in case it's the double elimination episode.
If it's a double elimination episode and they're on opposite sides of the team,
like it's hard to navigate, right?
It's hard to navigate it. But I think if the numbers are right, they're going to go for Joe. If the numbers are right, that group will go for Joe. Just because of the tie to Ava, I think they have to think about that, and they're not ready to do the Ava vote yet. So they're like, Ava won't be a problem if we get rid of Joe, and then we can sneak in and be that support, and then we've got an extra vote in our pocket, right? So I think Joe, if he's on the wrong side of this whole thing, I actually think, and this is a wild card, but I think if this person gets into a group of smart people, like Shaheen is there and he's got some people on his side, I think Kyle could go home. Throwing that out there.
Okay.
I think if Shaheen figures out what Kyle and Camilla are doing, and I don't think he get Camilla out, but I do think he might have a case to get Kyle out.
You just want one of mine gone that badly, Bree.
I do.
I can see it. Next week, if it's just a one vote, gosh, I don't see how this season it's not Say. I think that the setup, I think the episode setup was her first saying these guys are loving me or something like that. That might be one of those classic Survivor, let's build the confidence of this person in front of you and then vote her out type situations. So I will say if it's a double elimination type week, gosh, I will say that it is gosh, I just don't see how Camilla doesn't stay on the season. I'm going to say that they do end up getting Shaheen, or they take out, let's go with, let's just get her out of here. Chrissy.
There you go.
Just because.
Sounds good. Well, just like Max, I got to run. Thanks everybody for watching. It was a great, fun episode. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you next week.